Hi, I was going to share our card for the day. It's our anchor card for the week since it is Monday. Am I right? It is Monday. Time just blends together. So we pulled Queen of Pentacles from the Modern Witch Tarot, and the first impression I got when I looked at this card was that this queen looks so content to just sit in her domain and sit on her throne and be still and at peace with her situation and focus on what's in front of her and dealing with the ins and outs of just getting the kingdom in order and setting up comfort and stability and a sense of well-being and stability and enjoyment. And I think that where the king of this suit of pentacles is more like really action driven and going out there and making it happen, the queen is in the beingness of having. And so I think right now it's really okay to just be in that beingness of having, because I think that a lot of us, there's been so many big astrological things happening, like the North Node, where we're headed in this life going into Taurus. So what we value is coming into the forefront, and the way that what we have previously valued may be shifting and changing, and what we now value may be growing and evolving. So we've been reevaluating those those aspects of our lives. Also, Venus has been in retrograde, so what we specifically value about love, home, money, all of those Venus themes have been coming into play. And so I feel her just going through all of this, the work that's been going on within us over the past few weeks and in the cosmos has been, there's been a lot of heavy action back to back for months, and now I feel like this is like sort of the rinse cycle. And we're just like, we're just finishing the process of this level, this current level, so that we can kind of get into that period where we are stabilizing and building. And so because we have been literally going back in and reprogramming and rebuilding new neural pathways, I mean, everything has just been like, all the parts and pieces have been shifting and changing within us, but they've also been sort of shifting and changing outside of us as well. So we feel this, it's all unfamiliar, and it feels like these stiff new shoes that we're not comfortable in yet. We're not used to them, or they're not broken in. So there's a lot of emotion coming up. Our light body is evolving, and so it's pushing out the density that we're letting go of, and it's coming out of us however it can. And it could be outbreaks in your skin, it can be in sickness, it can be in like sudden waves of emotion. For me, there's been a lot of just like this disembodied anxiety where I'm just like anxious and just rearing to go, but like no real energy to like actually, or focus, or like know where to, like, what is it that I need to be, really honing in on. And all the messages keep telling me just wait, just hold, just ground all this disembodied, anxious energy. It's just the anxiety of everything changing and being in this like really flux state. And so I think that it's a comforting message, because there's no reason to look deeper into that anxiety right now. I mean, everything you hear is taken with a grain of salt. It's always so hard to like go back and qualify every single thing that I'm saying, because it's hard to say the whole truth of the whole universe in like one video. But like, what I mean is, if you don't have like an obvious severe issue that's causing you anxiety right now, and you're like, oh gosh, I don't know where this anxiety is coming from, and it's more than just the usual, like, I'm riddled with anxiety. I think it's just this extra energy that it's ready to be put somewhere, but it's just like, it's not our, it's like, I feel like we're in line and it's not our turn to step right up yet, like step right up and like the carnival. It's not our turn to get on the ride yet. It's almost, and everything is like shifting into place. But it's just those final little awkward moments where we We want to be in it, and we're in between. And I think there was some other things about the Queen. I think it's important too that she's really content to just sit still and receive. And so I think that this is just a very divine feminine aspect of this week, to not feel the pressure of having to like get out there and make it happen, but to like sit and integrate and allow things to come to you. And in my Kabbalah class tonight, actually, there was a part of the lesson was there's this real graciousness and gift in being able to receive from someone and give them the joy of giving to you. And I know like for some people receiving is very difficult, and for some it's like a power thing, like I don't want to give you the satisfaction of like giving to me, but then some people just don't trust people to give to them without resenting it or without attaching strings to it or expectations. You know, it comes with some kind of some catch or manipulation involved. So some people will have a difficult time receiving because they think they're not worthy or they don't deserve. So for everybody it's different, but for some people they have a really easy time doing it, and you know, for some it's just a spectrum, and it just depends on the situation. So just know that receiving, there's a deep value in it that you give to someone when you do receive graciously. It gives them a lot of joy, and it blesses them. It opens them up for a blessing and to be elevated themselves because they were able to share the light and generate goodness into the world. And it's also important to relax sit back into that feminine energy of like, we don't want to run after anything or grasp at it. We don't want to chase. We don't want to run away and have something chase. It's not like a this or that, or there's no real push or pull involved. It's just be where you are. You know where to find me, life. I am here. I am sitting with this moment. This is where I'm meant to be for now. Don't reach, don't grasp, don't push away, don't like run and try to pull. Don't try to force anything. Just let things unfold naturally in this moment. Because I think that there's still, it's like, I feel like we've been told to rest for weeks and weeks and weeks, and you're like, how much rest do I need? But it's like this rest of contentment, that like a deep spiritual rest of relaxation. All day long I even told my best friend this morning. I was like, you know what, I woke up this morning, and so I've been like, one thing that's just really been on my mind is like anticipating training for work, and you know, I'm just going back into like waiting tables at a fine dining restaurant, because I want to simplify a lot of logistical things in my life. I want to step away from film. I want to make really good money, but be able to put like my focus and my ambition like into my spiritual goals and those callings and dreams. So I just wanted something simple right now. But at the same time, if you're going to a fine dining restaurant, it's expensive, and then people expect you to know what you're doing, and so you don't want to look like a boob or like do a faux pas. So I've just been really anxious about it. And I also used to have a lot of anxiety and overwhelm because of just like over sensory, you know, coming at like this like sensitive empathic introvert. So restaurant life can be quite harsh if you don't know how to manage your energy. And I have learned how to manage my energy much better than I used to know back a million years ago when I did wait tables, and I had kind of a traumatic residue left over for it. So I'd been highly anticipating getting to this training, and I had some of my last shifts of training this weekend, which went really well. And so Tuesday I get to take like a small section, so it's actually just like unfolding really nicely and really gently, and I'm really happy, and I know I'm gonna do great. But it's just like those freshman nerves. And I finally felt this morning like, oh, I feel like I can relax. Like, I don't feel like I have to study as hard. Like, the information is finally seeking in. I think I mentioned before I'd been suffering from really bad COVID brain fog, like just not being able to like focus very long or retain information like, you know, I usually can. And so I'm finally starting to like feel normal again. So I just felt finally like this morning I could relax and just be what I call lazy and just enjoy like vegging out to like my self-help videos on YouTube. I know that's kind of productive, but it just like I was just relaxed and enjoying the coffee and in no rush. I didn't feel any obligation to do anything or be anywhere. And it really made me realize how hyper vigilant I've had to be for so long. I mean, years on end, decades, but especially recently in the past few months and over the last year, I think I was just really just trying so hard to do whatever I could to keep my relationship together. I wanted to be a good partner and I didn't want to abandon myself. And I just was so uncertain about whether or not the relationship was just unfixable or whether this was just adulthood and this is what relationships were. And so I really didn't want to leave the relationship because I wasn't sure, I wasn't certain it was the right thing to do. And then he ended up ending it, and I was radically accepting of it. But I think for so many months I was just trying to, I was really hyper on guard, and it's been over the last few months where I've been able to relax in that emotional way where I'm not like constantly trying to like hold a relationship together. So like that kind of blow hit and I was like, okay, well that's one less ghost to have to worry is going to jump out from around the corner, or one less rug to get ripped out because it's already been ripped out. So great. But then like for months I've been like, hyper vigilant about production work falling through, like inconsistencies, like doubling my, expenses suddenly, like keeping my place by myself and living alone for the first time and, feeling like a new level of my mortality and all of it. I just felt like so on guard, even just like, what if I forget to put the trash out? Or what if I like forget to pay all the utilities for like, it's like these irrational fears and things like that, but they were, tied into deeper things. But all of it has just kept me like so on edge for so many months. And I mean, and I'm not even mentioning all of the real tragedies that I've been through, like, deaths of people and, falling outs and like, ending a relationship and like losing like a whole life you built with someone for 5 years. Like, all of that pain is really bad too, but it's just like on top of everything else, like my, internal programming has just been stuck on survival. Like for months I've been saying, like, I feel like living life these days is just like The Walking Dead, like at first in the early seasons. Sorry, there's like a barking like pack of dogs outside. I don't know if you can hear it. But so it's like the first season, they're like running and trying to survive, and they're watching like family members getting taken down by like hordes of zombies and torn limb from limb and chewed up before their eyes, and they're just like devastated, and they're like, I can't go on like this, like what is the use? And it's just like by season 3, they're like mourning people and like trying to like bury them and like survive like the zombies while they're trying to like do a proper burial and continue on in some dignified fashion. And then by like season 2 or 3, it's like, oh, there goes my child getting eaten in the zombie pit. And it's like, just keep going. There's no time. Everybody's dying every day. Like, we don't have time to grieve. And I feel like nowadays life is so like, people are like, well, aren't you going to be there? And you're like, I want to come, but there's like a horde of zombies outside of my house. And if we leave, then we're going to have to fight for our lives. We might lose another family member. And I'm just really tired today. And I just want to save myself from not being like either chewed apart and like devoured, or being, stuck in like as a zombie. And people are like, what's your damage? Like, we all have to like face the zombie horde now to like leave the house. Like, that's just what we do now. Like, just get out there, toughen up, bitch, And I'm like, but I don't want to be Rambo today. So I think that it just feels weird to finally be able to not be so hyper vigilant. And so there's just all this anxious dust up in the air, but it's going to settle. And we are so close to being able to not only be content, where we are, but like lavish in it and love it and really, really be thriving and enjoying it. So I'm really excited about it. And I'm just enjoying this day of feeling like I can finally relax. And I think that our life is just going to start feeling more and more like we're going to be more comfortable with relaxation and just like a languid vibe, and not feel so, I don't know, pushed or driven or hungry or yearning. It's just, we're just going to feel much more like content and satisfied. But then it's like all of a sudden, like we're just going to start receiving more and our cup is going to be overflowing. And there was one more observation. Oh yeah. And this morning I also thought, as all of this was unfolding over my morning coffee, I was also thinking that, you know, some of the things, the programming that used to weigh on my mind all the time, or the things that used to occupy a lot of my energy or a lot of my focus or a lot of my willpower, because they were just things that I would struggle with or be fixated about or obsessing over or whatever, what have you. And they're not really issues as much anymore, because I've been doing a lot of like very focused work on releasing those things and unblocking them and healing those patterns, and doing some of these like hypnotic exercises to reprogram the neural pathways so that the subconscious is also changed and not just the conscious mind. And in that, I'm like, whoa, like I'll be waking up the next day feeling like almost like a different person, and like having all this new mental space and bandwidth, and just this more like sober feeling, emotionally sober feeling. And I'm like, who is this? Like, what do I do with all this energy and space? Like, what's become of me? Like, who am I? And I thought, wow, what would it be like if you woke up one day with amnesia, but like what you forgot was all of your negative patterning, or all of like the symptoms or like backlash of trauma, you know, like what if like all of that like programming and like fearful like residue was gone, and you were just like kind of like a blank slate with no preconceived like notions or biases or fears? Like, what would that look like? Like, what kind of, like, what would you look like? What would your life look like? Like, would you have the same interests? Would you have the same hobbies? Would you have done completely different things? Like, will you like different people? Or will different things attract you? Or will the same things attract you, but in different ways? Like, it's really interesting. So I thought that was an interesting kind of exercise to ponder. Like, if you woke up with amnesia of your bag, if you couldn't remember your baggage and your baggage was gone, what would you be like? Assuming that you could keep this, because I started to overthink this. I was like, well, you know, all of my harrowing experiences and challenges and tragedies and pains and heartbreaks and disappointments, they've all made me the person I am. And like, let's just assume like you get to keep all that, right? Okay, so just think about like the bad baggage being gone, or we think of as the bad baggage. See, it's so hard to be like in this culture of like people, you know, qualify everything you say. I'm just gonna say what I do and let people hate my guts and put my foot in my mouth like I always have. All right, I love y'all. I hope you have a good night. I'm gonna warm up some meatloaf and watch Ozark. I'm excited. I haven't seen any of the new season. Don't tell me.